אז כן, אולי כמה מילים עליי, רק ממש בקצרה. אני פה זכיתי להיות באמת איש שוטף פעולה של המערכת נתונים קליניים ביד שרה, שאני אדבר עכשיו על זה. באמת זה זכות גדול להיות חלק מהארגון הנפלא מאוד ומאוד מיוחד הזה, וחלק מהקבוצה של אנשים מאוד מאוד שזכיתי לעבוד, ממש להיות חלק מהיוזמה הזאת. חוץ מזה, יש לי עוד כמה כיוונים שאני פועל רק בקצרה. אני גם מלמד AI בכמה מכללות, וגם עוסק בפיתוח סוכני AI. אז בגדול אני עכשיו רוצה לדבר על המערכת החדשנית שלנו. אפשר להגיד שזו יוזמה של יד שרה, אבל באמת שיש שם עוד כמה ארגונים שמשותפים לזה. ברשות הציבור אני מחליף עובר לאנגלית, עכשיו זו שפה יותר נוחה פשוט. האמת שאני לא מרגיש כל כך טוב במיקרופון, אולי אפשר...
תעשה בלי ומקסימום לא לשמוע באקוסטון. הם לא שומעים. אז אומרים שכמו לא שומעים.
כאילו לא שומעים בסוף. בואו ננסה מיקרופון. Okay, so I want to talk about the platform called Sarah, and this is a platform for clinical data that hosts all kinds of clinical data. So let's start. So let's talk about ownership. We have Israeli patient law, and the law says that the one who is the owner of the data is the patient. It's not the Beit Cholim, it's not the Kupat Cholim, it's not any other Yibun, it's the patient. So this is how ownership looks like today. So you remember these devices? Some of the older ones in the public may still remember. This is how we own our medical data. You remember these devices maybe as well. Some of you may not, but this is the reality today in 2026. You may feel a little bit like we're traveling back in time, like to the 90s or so. Okay, so let's take a look at the typical Israeli citizen, Reuven. So Reuven has made some medical tests in the hospital, and now he wants to fetch his test results, maybe to share with some doctor who is outside the hospital, or maybe for any other purpose. So let's take a look at Reuven's journey. So typically the first step, Reuven would need to contact the hospital's data center. Usually, Reuven would then receive a form or multiple forms which you would need to fill out. Then, if the hospital is satisfied with the forms, they will typically invite him to come to the hospital physically. And when he finally arrives there, this is how he gets the data. Typically, typically, this is the situation in Israel. So on paper or on CD. So now, and here in this four-stage process, I didn't even describe all the bureaucratic communication involving emails, phone calls, and so on, which everyone who lives in Israel, I guess most of us know all too well. So think about the effort which is involved in just getting data. So what is the consequence of such a slow and complicated process of retrieving one's medical data? That the person usually would not feel that he is the owner of his data, of his medical data, but rather the feeling is that the data is owned by some external entity, like the hospital or the Kupat Cholim. So this is the point of pain. And our platform comes to address this. So unfortunately, because of the Zoom, we don't see the full slogan, but it says, return real ownership to the legal owner. Okay, so this is our slogan. The cloud platform is all about real ownership. We want to return true ownership to the legal owner of the data, who is the citizen. So, and in our understanding, real ownership entails at least these four aspects. That access to data should be fast, it should be convenient, it should be safe, and moreover, the citizen should have the opportunity to obtain his data in native data format. אנחנו נדבר על זה בשם, עוד מעט, זו שאלה. אז תחשוב רק על, just think about the ease how you access most of your data, which is not medical data, let's say a cloud drive or a Bitcoin wallet. So here I want just to mention maybe those aspects of our system, of the platforms that are that distinguish it from many other medical data platforms. So first of all, our platform is the purpose is for all medical records rather than certain types of medical records. The technology we use is distributed storage via blockchain, which guarantees a supreme level of data security. And moreover, it allows ease of access, like I mentioned. Think about accessing your cloud drive or your Bitcoin wallet. Okay. So let's speak about sharing medical data. So you might remember this guy, right? So once John Biden's son had brain cancer, and he started his treatment in a hospital in the north of the country. At some point, he needed to be transferred to a hospital in the south. So now, it happened to be that the data platforms of the two hospitals were incompatible with each other. And as a consequence, the Biden family needed to transport the data physically via aeroplane from one hospital to the other. So the purpose of this little anecdote is to illustrate the situation in our country, where we have plenty of platforms that host medical data. Think about data systems in hospitals, other places, but most of them don't speak to each other, meaning that there is no way to easily transfer medical data between them. Now, think about the example case where you want to share your medical data with some doctor of your choice, might be in Israel, where the doctor might also be located abroad. Now, imagine that you have your medical data dispersed across multiple nodes. Once again, maybe hospitals, Kupot Cholim, doctors, and so on. So just think about the effort and the time which is involved in retrieving all of this data and then sharing it. So basically, most of the effort is on the retrieval side. So it's a lot of effort, and in our system, data sharing should be as quick as convenient as, once again, I mentioned it, think about a cloud drive, Google Docs, or whatever, where you share documents with a few clicks, including the opportunity to select data, including the opportunity to stop the sharing at any point you want, and including, once again, as I mentioned, supreme safety that is based, that comes through blockchain technology. אני מאוד אשמח לדבר גם על השאלה הזאת, מבחינת השאלה הטכנית יהיה לנו ראש של הפרויקט שהוא מבין בזה יותר ממני. אז אני אשמח לדבר על זה, רק תזכור השאלה שלך ונדבר על זה. כן, אז בגדול, so this is how data sharing looks in Sarah platform. Okay, so let's speak about ecosystems. It's certainly not a secret that medical data is valuable. And we know all too well that where there is money, there is tendency for corruption. So just to illustrate how relevant this issue is, just in the last 10 years, there were 5 major US hospitals that were involved in serious cases of data corruption, where patients' data was illegally shared or sold to marketing agencies, fundraising agencies, medical device vendors, surgery vendors, and media outlets. So the former is a case of a very straightforward way of corruption, but we know that most of the time corruption happens in much more subtle ways, such as subtle manipulation of patients or exploitation of loopholes in privacy law. Just to make things a tiny bit more concrete without going too much into the topic, 3 examples of such corruption practices. Here, unfortunately, we don't see. So, a well-known practice is exploitation of loopholes in privacy law. And here, a few years ago, we had the case of a DNA testing companies that sold data to pharma companies that was labeled as data for research. Another well-known practice is closed ecosystems. And here we don't want to name the companies that are involved here, but there is a known company that runs a health data platform, and they designed it in such a way that it's only running on their devices. So basically, you can use their platform only if you use their devices. And another well-known practice is nudging. And here we had a certain company recently, a health management platform where patients reported being nudged into frequent check-ins and optional add-on services. So the question is, if there is such a strong tendency for corruption in medical data, why can we expect Sarah to do better? And the answer to this is the spirit of Sarah, which is very much the spirit of Yad Sarah, which basically says that we are focused on the benefit of the patient or the citizen, speaking in a broader sense. So how do we facilitate this? I mean, this is slogans which we hear from many companies, right? We have for us, the patient comes first, the citizen comes first, but indeed we know that in practice often things are not working out like this. So at this point, I would mention Sarah's unique ecosystem, which consists of Israel's major volunteer organizations in the healthcare domain. Which includes Yad Sarah, but not only. It includes as well Yehuda Tzara, Ezer Metzion, and Rabbi Führer, who is personally involved in our project. So I want to stress once again that it's this unique spirit of volunteer organizations, of Hesed organizations, that shapes the platform and that hopefully will give it better chances to avoid corruption, to avoid policies which are hurting the citizen rather than benefiting him. Okay, so basically we're slowly coming to the end. Maybe a few final remarks, just to get to give a larger overview, maybe a more complete overview over the platform. So our platform includes predictive analytics, third-party apps that can be accessed, as well as integration with biometric devices. So I want to highlight this point here, integration with biometric devices, because it closely connects to Yad Sarah's mission and allows to liberate people from hospitals into home care. So I would like to close with inviting to think about cooperations. We are actually interested and looking for cooperations with interesting, with companies, with projects, with groups who are developing application or active in research that benefits patients, that benefits the citizen, which is basically the main criteria how we evaluate if a certain project or company is a valid cooperation partner. So just to mention a few benefits of cooperating with us, I don't need to talk about Yad Sarah for sure, because most of you probably know it. And also, you also probably know that Yad Sarah is loved and trusted by citizens of Israel. We also have about 1.5 million potential users, meaning people who are in various ways connected to Yad Sarah, and moreover, a broad network of connections in the medical domain and beyond. So that's basically it. Thank you.
How you come to get the medical data of the patient? Give you the data, or you can get it.
So the patients or all the data which we have is coming from people which that use our platform. So we don't get any data from other sources without the issue of the citizen or patient.
If the patients carry